You know what's funny? When I'm bored or when I don't have anything to do, I have plenty of things to do. But when I'm looking for my friends and when I'm looking for my family to talk to me, I'll FaceTime everybody back to back to back to back. And y'all will just viciously ignore me. But when it's time for me to do work or I find something to do, y'all find me. And then y'all mess up y'all mess up the whole system. Thank y'all for coming back. Welcome back. I don't know what happened, y'all. It was kind of one of those things where one person FaceTimed and then I couldn't get back live, and then now I'm Teddy Riley, and then it's too late. Hello. Welcome back. Okay, cool. So what was I talking about? Oh, yes. We were talking about imposter syndrome and the first thought about it. And like, oh my gosh, they hired me, but I feel like I can't really do this job. Or I don't know if I can do this job. I'm the dumbest person in the room, whatever. I want us to talk about the process to getting to the actual career switch and how that thought in itself is so not useful. And it just is like, it should help us. It should make us be a little bit more curious about our own, how we view ourselves, right? If you made a career switch and you job hunted and it was the processed, okay, it was difficult, and you went through the entire process to make sure that you positioned yourself. They saw the transferable skills. They saw that you were competent. They saw that you had the experience, the expertise, all the things. And then they're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm buying this. I'm buying this Kool-Aid. Let's bring you on the team. And then you're there, and then you're like, oh my God, can I do this? First of all, why would you go through this entire process only for you to question yourself after? Like, you did so much questioning leading up to this. Why are you questioning yourself over into this? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to already like probably procrastinate on the job hunt to begin with, because by the time most of us actually start a job hunt, we're probably a little bit too late. We're probably not late. We have probably waited a little bit more time before we actually started and doing the things that we know that we needed to do before we actually started the hunt. There was already a turning point. There was already somebody at the office or somebody at the office that pissed us off. Somebody was ready to get cussed out. We didn't make an immediate move. We took our time, and then we finally had that small little, it was that, you know what, it's time for me to start hunting. I'm jumping on my resume. I'm editing these things. Now I'm here. And that's probably a little bit more time after you knew it was time for you to go. Okay? So let's talk about like the runway to actually starting the hunt. You knew well before the hunt that you needed to go. That's fair. I think that's a fair assessment, because oftentimes there's something that comes up and we're like, yeah, I don't know about this. And then it comes up again and you're like, oh yeah, y'all wild a little bit. And then it comes up again. It's just like, all right, it's time to go. And then you start to casually hunt. You don't really fully commit to it, but you don't get any leads. And so then if you don't get any leads or you don't get any good opportunities, and your process is probably still the same process of job hunting that you did when you were just coming out of college, and then you're like, you know what, let me just stick to my job. It's not that bad right now. They're not pissing me off this much anymore. And then they do it again. And then now at this point, we done probably waited. It's probably a good couple months to a year, to a couple years. And then we finally jump onto it. We go through this entire process of the switch, of the hunt. You hate it. You procrastinated for a very specific reason. You finally get the job. Now you're questioning why they hired you, because you feel a little bit dumb in those first 30 days. Why? You see, it just doesn't make, like, you did all this overthinking and all this work and all this procrastination leading up to this point, only for you to get the thing that you want, for you to question why you're here. Girl, you wanted this. So why are you, so now this becomes a bigger thing, right? So that's number one. Don't question people. Don't question the decision don't question yourself and other people for them seeing your power, right? The second piece of it is imposter syndrome. And I said this on my other live, and I know like some people didn't. Let me not project. I don't know if you liked it or not, but this is what works for me, and this is what works for me. Number one, imposter syndrome doesn't ever really go away. Once we understand that it doesn't really go away, we can adjust our relationship to it and the idea of it. and understand that we don't have to wear the shirt of imposter syndrome just because it showed up and all of a sudden you're supposed to be this perceived super confident expert. Your confidence comes from being clear, right? And if you don't have that much clarity around, let's say, your new job, yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult to be the confidence that you got at your last job because you already put in your 10,000 hours as a master this last time. So the idea of being able to literally be at the level of confidence and comfort from your last job and then jumping over into a new space, a new environment, new systems, new things, generally the same function, same activities, you have the capabilities. But that's such a, when people talk about, hey, is it unrealistic to think that, this is the one time I will say that that's very unrealistic to believe that you are going to be as comfortable at your last job that you have been at for X amount of years to have the same level of comfort within those first 30, 60, 90 days at a new job that's a completely new situation. So why are you beating yourself up? Can I get a thumbs up, a wave, a pass, like anything? Like, does this make this amazing? Thank you. Okay. Because y'all like to watch me talk, and y'all don't ever like to be like, yeah, I get it. This makes sense. Y'all like to talk back to me. Y'all like to look at me. Y'all rude. Y'all ain't got no home training. That's why y'all feel away. Because y'all ain't got no home training. That's point number 3. Y'all ain't got no home training. That's it. Okay. Anyway, thank you. So the next thought about that is think about imposters. So now that we know that imposter syndrome really doesn't go away, because I promise you, like, your CEO, especially if they're new, probably is experiencing imposter syndrome. They have to lead a full-on organization. Like, that's not easy. That's a big thing. So to a certain degree, it doesn't go away. It's just a matter of how you manage it and how you understand it. So if you understand, okay, we're taking notes, we're still gonna choose. Okay, great. At least just throw in an emoji. Like, y'all could, a letter. So now I'm not sitting on my couch looking at myself like, dang, ain't nobody mess with me. That's crazy. Nobody want to talk back. Y'all mad avoidant. But yeah, anyway, so a lot of your senior leaders are probably dealing with imposter syndrome too. Right? So check this out. So I remember, and there was one of the leaders that I worked for at a previous company. We will remain nameless. But I think that I believe and I admired how well he handled uncertainty, because that's essentially what it is. It is, do I find myself competent enough to manage uncertainty and potentially be wrong in front of my constituents? And if I'm wrong, will they perceive me to be dumb? Right? Like, that's what we're afraid of, especially like when we're not trying to take a pay cut, when all these other factors. I don't know why my phone is doing that. I'm going to ignore it. So that being said, one of the things he came into the middle of one of our biggest budget seasons that we had. He was promoted internally and from a completely different side of the division. And so with that, he comes over. He basically has a meeting with his immediate direct reports, right? So these are directors, SVPs, etc. And he basically lays down all of his objectives around what it is that he plans to do, right? And so in that, he has meetings with every single team. He's looking to understand what it is that every team is currently doing. He already has a target. He he has to hit, but he has to understand what is the current approach in terms of how the business is running operationally. Cool. So then once he has meetings with everyone, he asks all his questions. He does all his informational interviews. He pulls together a manifesto, right? It sounds mad dramatic, but it was kind of fire. He pulls together a manifesto, and it's a shareable Google Doc, and he breaks it down by all of his overall goal, the overall vision, the overall objectives, the financials we need to hit, his understanding of how the organization runs, and all the changes that he plans to make and where he believes that these changes fundamentally need to be made, right? He makes it a shareable Google Doc. He shares it to his direct reports. They're all already shook, right? So, like, I say all this to say that this is his approach to managing his imposter syndrome or managing uncertainty, by asking questions so he can get certain. insert, he can get clear. And in him doing this, none of his direct reports or even senior leadership was looking at him like, why hasn't he figured it out yet? Why can't he manage uncertainty yet? Why can't, did we hire the right person? No. They knew that he was competent enough to figure it out, even if he didn't have the answer. And not for nothing, it's a very new environment for him too, right? He had success in a different environment. They know that, okay, if you were able to solve these complex problems over in a different environment, you could probably do it here. So his approach, so he has a shareable Google Doc. Then he has a town hall at the end of the year. Right, this is in the heart of pandemic too. He has a town hall in the middle of the year, and he shares the manifesto with an entire sales team before the meeting, before the town hall meeting, right? And so he shares it, and I'm intrigued because I think that was a very ballsy move, because a lot of old school leaders, and he was a little bit younger, but a lot of old school leaders go over into the organization. They're just like, this is what we got to do. This is our target. What are we doing? What do we need to do? Maybe we got to cut some people. He was like, I'm not going to cut anybody. I'm just going to show you what it is that we need to do and all the changes we need to make. And if we can't make those changes, then we'll have to effectively make other changes, which y'all probably won't like. But let's see if we can start off right here. And so I jumped into the Google Doc. I was making comments all over the place, girl. I was over here like, I don't think that this is going to work. Mind you, youngest person on the team, youngest black person on the team, youngest person on the team, handful, maybe the second or third person that's a black person on the team, and woman on the team, right? I'm over here tearing this thing up. Over here giving comments. All you see is Bianca Jeanty, Bianca Jeanty, Bianca Jeanty. But guess what? My point in sharing this story is that he faced the resistance, or he faced the rejection that he may potentially have felt within himself by just leaning in and just knowing that they hired me to do this. They hired me to honestly potentially run into mistakes. And at least if I have a strategy, I can just lean on that. Right. And so in the conversation that I had with him, he was just purely in a position of looking to get more information and insight. He was not trying to be the all-star, be the go-to person, be the people pleaser, be the person that can do it all and overachieve and he's in a position where he has to create a vision. But in order for him to create a vision that's actually executable, he needs information. So he turned his imposter syndrome into him being a student and allowing people to give feedback, and it became a more collaborative environment. So that was a very long story. But my point in saying all that to say is he walked into a new environment and managed his uncertainty by just getting information and asking questions and asking the right people questions so he could make informed decisions. And so that's a lot of your senior leaders, especially if they're new coming into the organization, especially if they're external. One, a tip for y'all, get close with them. That's a good time to get close with them. Because they need someone on their side. They need advocates. So you can be that. But number two, everybody goes through it. Even I think Bazama St. John even had a conversation around hey, what was it like being the CMO over at Netflix? And she even mentioned that she was just imposter syndrome doesn't go away. And I was like, I felt that. It never really goes away, especially if you're making a pivot. And then another thought, so I think I went through two or three things. So I'll go on number three. Number three, something to consider. Anyone heard about I'm sure everyone's familiar with it, but the concept of developing mastery through 10,000 hours, right? I'm a wait. Y'all give me a thumbs up. Yes, no, maybe so. But if not, I'll describe it. So there's a concept essentially that says that you become a master at your craft when you put in 10,000 hours over into studying, learning, doing, etc. Right? Just something. There's two. I could frame this in two different ways. So I'll frame this in the first way. The first way is back to my initial point about you feeling okay, I'm not that confident over at this job. So the way that I was at the last job, you likely put in 10,000 hours into being a master at your last gig. You may have to start over and do that 10K again. Maybe. But if that is the case, then maybe, just maybe, you should be a little bit gentler with yourself. You're learning. So how could you be that girl like the way that you were at your last previous organization if you haven't even mastered your craft? You don't even know what your ecosystem is for you to operate in. You need to learn that first. That takes time. So as much as, especially the millennials, we first of all, we need reparations. We didn't see too much. We didn't see too much in this lifetime, okay? But you're starting over, be gentler. But millennials, I think that we have been programmed with multiple work philosophies, right? Like we had the work philosophies from our parents. My parents were blue collar, keep your head down, mind your business, do your work, etc. Then we also have the overnight successes, the tech space, the internet boom with Facebook and all the other tech platforms. Then we're also inserting ourselves over into coming out of college and finding some level of job security. Then we entered into the pandemic, I don't know if they're going to take me off for saying it, but the panoramic, right? And then now we have a new work philosophy around, we're supposed to find where maybe we need to, no, before the panoramic, it was like a lot of like purpose driven. Y'all can't hear me for real? What about now? Not Instagram don't like me. My phone is also like, there's like a microphone issue. The mic was going on and off. Can y'all hear me now? There we go. Okay, great. Here we go. Whew. I was going to say, I'm going to call the fire department. I don't know what they could do, but okay, so the question was, what about the challenge of working for a nonprofit where you are often taking on tasks that are outside of your job description? I'm going to push back a question for you and ask, why are you taking on the tasks that are outside of your job description? You're back on now. So I was going to say this for another live, but we're here now, so let's chat. So I understand that there are certain industries that require more of you than not, that tend to be a little bit demanding. One of the things generally the clients that I work with have this problem of taking on things that are outside of their job description and being upset that they're not compensated for it, or that they now have a desk that just is insurmountable. Like, how can anybody possibly manage this? They're not getting the resources, the support. The question still goes, why are you taking it on, and why can't you say no? Right? So like, that's my first question. It's just like, because literally the question said like, essentially a frame that I am taking these things on. So now I'm like, well, why? Why are you taking them on? And I say that with as gently as possible to really help you understand that you have way more power than you think you do. And this is what I mean when I say that a lot of us have conflicting work philosophies that we're literally trying to shake off and redefine for ourselves, because we're realizing how miserable and unhappy we are, knowing that we're now doing a job that, one, we didn't sign up for, two, we probably overstayed our welcome, three, we're not getting paid for all the excess stuff that we're doing, but you are powerful, right? And I have to say this as somebody that this is me not psychoanalyzing. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not I'm not anything. But this is just from my experience. I'll use myself as an example to help. One of the things that I recognized was that I had to recover from people pleasing. And when we talk about people pleasing, it's often in the context of like relationships with, let's say, your friends, your family, romantically, etc. Right? Like there's a codependent nature that has been developed, or whatever it is that we needed to survive. We think that doing more is going to protect us from being able to get the backlash from it, right? So if I take on more work, I may be able to, one, either like throw up a little smoke and mirrors to my manager so they don't have to pay attention to maybe that I'm psych in this area, or maybe that I'm good enough to be on the team, especially if you don't feel like you belong there when you initially got there, because a lot of these DE&I conversations or all these different fields are not, we're now getting more information and more resources. But especially if you're new to the team, or if you feel like you're not good enough on the team, or you're on a role that you're not necessarily strong at, or you're trying to get promoted, you're probably taking on more things with the expectation that you're going to be rewarded in a certain way. And when you don't get rewarded, it's like you feel depleted and you feel unappreciated. So then it becomes a conversation of like, okay, well, why was I taking on these tasks to begin with? What was the intention, or what was the outcome that I was looking for? Was I looking to get promoted? Was I looking to get a raise? Was I just taking it on because I don't know how to say no? Oftentimes it starts with the latter, and then we cover it up with the first two. I'm going to just keep it real, because that's what I did. And maybe I don't want to speak for you, but I'm going to speak for myself, okay? Oftentimes when I'm like, okay, well, let me jump on this project and let me do this, let me do that. I'm like, okay, well, I was also working from a philosophy that if I worked on everything, that, I would essentially be like the first in line to be, recognized or promoted or whatever. And it never really happened. It never really happened because there were other elements of being successful professionally that I leaned out of because it felt sleazy. It felt like, I don't want to kiss anybody's ass. I don't want to play into these corporate politics. I don't want to play into these things. So I'm just going to let the work speak for themselves. And then as I'm letting the work speak for itself, people are getting promoted over me. I'm taking on more work. I'm getting disgruntled. I'm resenting the company that I work for because they're not recognizing all the things that I'm taking on when they may have asked for it, but I never said no. I never spoke to my manager and said, yo, I have 17 things on my desk. You have passed over to me. What's actually a priority? Because the reality of it is like 4 of these can get done within the week, and the rest we have to really reprioritize because what's actually important right now. And I need to be real with you, because your manager's job, their job is to really manage the operational efficiency of the team and make sure that they actually work for you, or they actually are supposed to support and make sure that their team is working as a system. But you have to say something. So then back to the original question, why did you say yes to the task? Why are you taking on more work? Is this for a new job? Is this for a new role? Do you need more experience? Do you just maybe not have self-control? Do you not know how to say no? Are you afraid to say no? That's a real thing. Some of us are actually really afraid to say no to taking on work that is being requested of us, because if we take on work, okay, the risk, let's look at the risk, right? The risk is maybe I'm going to be perceived as somebody that can't do it, or they're not competent. Maybe I'm going to be perceived as a person that's not a team player. Maybe I'm not following the cultural protocol of how to actually operate in this environment, which pins into the next question. Why am I in an environment that's going to literally deplete all of my confidence to the point where I won't be able to interview elsewhere because I'm too bitter and too shaky boots to talk about myself in a powerful way because they're stealing all of it, or I'm just giving it to them by taking on these tasks. I say all that to say that I had to drag myself, okay, to essentially recognize that I needed to speak up. I needed to speak up, and I needed to start saying no, and I needed to find creative ways to say no, and I needed to be okay with the first time around that I said no to doing work because I literally just didn't have the capacity to do it, recognizing that it did not have to do with my ability to do work. It didn't make me dumb. It didn't make me less than. It just, operationally is inefficient. You can't, like, it's like your phone will overheat if it has too many things going on. Your computer will shut down if you have 85 different tabs open, your Microsoft open, you got your Spotify, you got all these applications working, and it will just shut down. Why wait until you have to shut down for you to realize that you can just say no and be like, I actually much rather us keep the computer on, working really well, getting from tab to tab, one thing at a time, than having 85 different tabs open in hopes that I will survive this. I hope that lands or makes sense. It makes sense for me. And I realized that once I started making different decisions around saying no to work or asking for help, which is another, that's another life, how to ask for help, because a lot of us like to stay hyper independent. We don't want to ask for help because we ask for help, maybe it's going to make us look like we can't actually do the work. You have to speak up, because if you are unable to do it, if you're not speaking up and you're taking on the work, it's not showcasing that you're a good leader if you don't know how to prioritize, right? Because a lot of us stay in jobs because there's like a little bit like of a dream that we're going to get finally rewarded for all this work, or we're going to get the promotion. So we stay a little, let me get the bonus, let me get the pay grade, let me get the title, then I'm going to start job hunting, then I'm going to start do this. Once I get this, then I'm going to start doing this. And you keep doing it, and then you take on more because you're not seeing results happen fast enough. So you keep doing it. And then it becomes then you start to sit there and you're like, oh my God, I now am doing 4 people's jobs. I don't say no. It looks like they playing in my face, so they obviously don't respect me. And so now I'm at the point where I just hate this place with all of my being. I hate this place. They haven't promoted me. And now I got my coworker that doesn't even do work that just got promoted, and that just pissed me off. I'm about to blow this bitch up. That's what I said. I don't know if you said it, but that's how it worked in my head. But now I have to look at it at a very high level and be like, let me look at it from like a purely business perspective of this, right? Let's say I'm looking at a team, I'm looking at a teammate who is taking on 45 different things. Yes, the moral compass, I'm going to be a good leader, let me just promote this person, they do really good work. That philosophy is so dated. Let me give you the real philosophy of how someone that's looking at the business is going to look at all their entire team. They're going to be like, okay, cool. We need muscle, and we need people that have the ability to push through on really complex issues. We need people that can manage people's personalities. We need people that can tell clients no. So let me look at the team right now. Okay, they worked on these two really key projects. They brought it to my attention. This person works on 45 different things. Okay, if we promote this person, will they stay or will they leave? If we don't promote them, then maybe they'll stay. If we don't promote this person, they definitely gonna leave when we need them, right? This person has an issue with saying no, so I don't necessarily know if they're going to do a good job of actually staying in front of the client and actually handing them bad news. This person has 2 closed deals with some of our biggest clients, and they had to tussle a little bit. So let me pull the person that got a little bit of muscle, that can handle this. And then this person obviously is really great at execution, so let's keep them there. I know that they've been there for 5-6 years, but I think at this point I don't want to put this person in an environment where they obviously, even in this role, they can't stand up for themselves. I need them to be able to stand up in front of clients. I know it's not a nice feeling when you're sitting in it and you watch it, but that's oftentimes what's happening. And it has less to do with your ability to do your job, to do your work, to make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. Yes, those things are important, but the people that are that have no problem saying, no, we're not doing this because this doesn't make sense. And if we are going to do this, then we have to pull out of the project. They need those people in the room for the roles that are going to pay you the title, the money that you think that you deserve. So you need to start operating as if you were that person. You really start to need to operate as if you're that person. That person is a person that actually they get promoted, they get the jobs, because their competence and their emotional intelligence flies through more so than their ability to just do the execution. Anybody can do execution. Maybe not in the way that you do it. You probably have a masterful way of doing it. But if you can't articulate, if you can't say no at this juncture of your career and you're looking to start to interview elsewhere, I promise you it's going to show up in the interviews, and you're going to feel a way when they offer you and they lowball you. So you have to literally practice being the person that gets promoted, that gets the job, that gets the bag, that gets the lifestyle, that designs their life, that's okay with saying no, that has the ultimate leverage. The ultimate leverage is your ability to say no or to walk away. That is such a... Just tuning in. Did we confirm the answer to the math PEMDAS problem was indeed 9? Girlie. Listen. I'm going to have a follow-up live for all of y'all PEMDASers that were in my DMs. Yeah, all y'all. We're going to have a nice live this week, and we're going to bring it to the tippity top. Okay? We're going to bring it to the top. We're going to bring it to the top. Because half of y'all, and I think it was half of y'all that was in my DMs this week, like, these goofies, look at these goofies that don't know PEMDAS. That was y'all. I was like, first of all, and then some of the people that did have different answers, I said, oh, this is going to be Aunt Sally never lied, though. That's a fact. But guess what? Our education system did. Did you know? I didn't know this. Actually, 2 people DM'd me about this in the article that I had posted. This is a quick sidetrack. The article that I did post was from Berkeley about the fact that, one, PEMDAS actually, like, some students, there are certain cohorts of students that actually didn't get that. They didn't get that mathematical equation. They didn't get that formula. So a lot of people actually did not grow up with PEMDAS, which I think is really, whoa. They cannot sit at the lunch table with us. Okay? But there was a study about just the fact that certain equations don't actually require, some equations have been positioned to feel like they're ambiguous when they don't necessarily need that, so you don't need PEMDAS. So my answer was 1. Some people's answers was 9. Don't fight me, because I know y'all like to tussle, because y'all was tussling in my DMs all week, and I had to just start over. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to teach my kids PEMDAS. And somebody said that they learned BOMDAS. Did y'all know that? BOMDAS? Another conversation another day. Anyway, so obviously we're here about career switching. Oh, Chile. We're here about career switching. But yeah, so just a recap, because I actually just have to go, about everything that we talked about. What did we talk about? We talked about the idea, the unrealistic expectation of you being as confident or being a master of your craft in the environment that you were in your last job for the last X amount of years. And having that immediacy of feeling that way when you start your new job is very unrealistic. It's unrealistic. You are literally restarting some level of mastery in a new environment, and maybe the same competitive or the same unique capability that you have that you can do. You literally create repeatable success in multiple environments, but you're starting over your mastery. You're starting over to a certain degree in a new environment, or you're adding on to that. So just be okay with the fact that you're not going to feel as confident in your work the way that you did at your last job. That's number 1. Well, it's technically number 2, but number 1. So number 2 is also all the work that you did to get to the point of job hunting and career switching, interviewing, negotiating to land there, only for you to question if you belong there. In itself was just like, yo, that don't even add up. Because, like, why did you do all that if you just didn't think that you belonged there? Why did you go through the process of trying to switch careers if you actually truly believe that you didn't belong there? So if that is the case, there's something to be said about why you need to really reprogram, which is why I said in my last couple lives, brainwash yourself. That's my solution to imposter syndrome, or at least managing it better and more effectively, is to brainwash yourself into the person that would actually be successful in that role and believing that you belong there, or believing that you can get whatever it is that you want to get, and stop consuming content or BS or venting or repeating the story that you're not good enough over and over and over again. Of course you're not good. Of course, you're literally like creating mastery around being an imposter. So there's also that. The other piece that we talked about is that imposter syndrome never really goes away. So, and most of your senior leaders, especially if they come in externally, are likely managing some level of imposter syndrome, and they just manage it a little bit better. They have executive coaches. They have people that are supporting them on how to posture themselves with body language. So you take on those same notes, right? Adjust your body language. Adjust how you show up. Practice those things, right? Practice how you want to be more effective in the way that you communicate. Practice saying no. So by the time you get to the next job, it's not this new skill set that you have to start over from scratch from. You are just transferring in a different environment, right? Thank you for sharing your gift. Thank you for joining. I need to brainwash myself some more. I'm just saying, listen, it's an everyday process for me. Like when I'm driving, it's particularly if there's like a topic or a topic that I know is going to help elevate me over into not just becoming, I'm just going to become. I lean into it. I'm writing, I'm listening in the morning, I'm meditating on it, I'm visualizing it, I'm journaling, I'm doing a lot because I recognize that most days it's not enough to do 5 words of affirmation in the morning. Meanwhile, like 5 positive words of affirmation in the morning and then do 200 negative ones throughout the rest of the day. The math doesn't math. So I personally actually do truly believe that brainwashing is competitive to the negative words of affirmation that you're probably repeating to yourself over and over and over again. And it's a practice, right? It's a practice, and you just change the automations in your brain. What was another thing that we talked about? If I take this job, I would be walking away from equity with my current company. Why not negotiate? How about lose a sense of entitlement from your last job that couldn't keep you in the first place? Ooh, fun. You talking cash? You talking cash? Cash and money on here. That's a word. We can pin that. How about lose a sense of entitlement from your last job that couldn't keep you in the first place? Hey, let's just send the collection plate. Let me send the sends. Let's go tithe. Sends the collection plate. Hold on. The collection plate. I'm gonna put in my $2 because that's what I do at church. So there's that. What else are y'all talking about? Let me scroll back up. Hello, Lord. I pray my offspring, not the PEMDASI. Heek. Learning that your no isn't self-sabotage. Ooh, not me, not knowing how to read. Learning that no isn't self-sabotage, but being self-aware. Amen. You be therapizing. I rock with it. Okay. How do you deal with perfectionism in your new role? We're gonna pin this for the next live. The cheetah print is so wealthy. Influence us. Hold on. Security. Yes, I have found him. Get him out of here. Just let's go here. There he is, right there. Yes, TJ with the check mark. Yes, that one. Let's go get him. Okay. Perfectionism. So I think that similar to imposter syndrome, it has to be the same approach, right? So with imposter syndrome, it never really goes away. So you now understand that it is just an idea. It's not something that you really need to lean into. It's not something you need to adopt or wear. You just change the meaning behind it. Also change the meaning to yourself that you don't need to be perfect on the job. I think that's like, I'm trying to think about a time that I realized that perfectionism just had me over here running raggedy, like had my eyebrows on the ground, and I didn't really need to do all that. Perfection, I think that over time, when you start to practice somebody that does not actually have perfectionism as a value, it'll be easier for you to deal with. So can we replace perfectionism with something else? Replace perfectionism with progress, right? Did I make progress? Did I learn something? Because being perfect isn't necessarily a requirement or a prerequisite for you to be successful at your job. That's the one thing I learned. Or in this world. If you think about it, you know what? Okay, so my dog Bird, that's my dog forever. we had a conversation, and it never went away, but years ago, and we were just talking about just like having like the best product, having the best thing, or trying to make sure that it's super duper perfect before it goes to market. And then he was just like, yo, people eat McDonald's. Why am I trying to be perfect? And then in my head, I don't know why that landed for me, but it went through my spirit. Just right here, I'll do it again. It went through my spirit. Because why? You need to solve the problem. You don't need to be perfect, okay? And sometimes solving the problem means that you need to progressively get there. Your metric should be progress. What did I learn, and did we hit the target? How off target were we? What do we need to do to get there? Okay, keep going. Replace perfectionism with tenacity, with perseverance. Like literally swap it out with something else, and that will help you deal with it a little bit better. I don't know if she's even still in the room. I don't know if she's still in the room. I'm just over here talking at this point, waiting for my beat to start. Okay, so as mentioned, as you know, and I need to actually swap. That's why apps have updates. This is weird. Thank you. Amen. Come on now. Hold on. That hit a little bit. That's why apps have updates. Oh, so y'all pastors. So do y'all put that on your resume? When y'all go into the interviews, y'all be like, yo, so I was leading up Greenleaf. You know what I mean? And that's my transferable skill. So if you need me to inspire the team, first of all, one day I'm gonna be a rapper. Okay, I'm gonna get into my rap career because my wordplay go a little bit crazy sometimes. Nope, and delete the church work off the resume. Child, I'm gonna keep it in there. Okay, but anyway, so what is this about, love? Well, if I look at the what is this live about? Well, if I tap the top, it says career switching and imposter syndrome. My good brother Rafiq. But we're actually gonna close this out. So anyway, you'll see an automated DM from me. Actually, it's from Mobile Monkey. I thought I deactivated the account, but it's still there. So, federales, tell me what topics that y'all want to talk about. I'm leaning more into more mindset conversations because there's tons of tips, there's tons of information, there's tons of how-tos all over my page, all over my TikTok, uploading over to my YouTube shorts because your girl is trying to scale the brand. Okay? We're trying to scale the brand. That being said, those tips and tricks, strategies, hacks, all those things will not work if you do not have the right foundation and if you don't believe that you're worthy of actually getting what it is that you want. That is what I recognize is where I want to offer up even my own personal stories to help inspire you or to recognize that like you're not alone, because I do feel like professionalism sometimes is just like this. I don't know. We're changing our philosophies. The girlies are just we are moving on or into greener pastures. But that being said, I do want to share more some of the turning points over my career that helped me realize like, oh my gosh, I've been playing this game backwards. I really don't need to do all this extra work or take on this extra thing or even make it difficult. How do you take care of your relationships? How do you take care of yourself? And how do you learn and how do you show how your mistakes were actually new opportunities for innovation instead of just this big, large F up, which I think there's... I'll also talk... You know what I want to talk about? I'm going to talk about underperformance. Especially if you're not the strongest person on the team. What do you do? And how do you do it? That's going to be the next live. We're going to do that tomorrow. Okay, well... that's all, folks. I'm going to head on out and dry my face because the heat is over here heating. It's doing its job. Like, all right, big dog, you got it, son. Turn it off. And I'll holler at you soon. Wait, last note. I was with the organization 10 years and decided to pivot into a different sector 4 months in. I'm feeling like this role isn't for me. Let's circle back and let's talk about it. Stay in the game. Stay 10 toes down. It's not on you, it's in you. And happy Monday, y'all.